This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
YouTube is more about you. There we go. Yes. I'm going to be looking at you through the camera because my damn neck. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
But sometimes I will be turning my whole chair towards you.
Okay.
Whatever you don't want to answer, just tell me don't.
Okay, which one you want me to look at?
Anyone. You can look anywhere you want right now. Hey, everybody. Oh, let me move this camera up just a teeny bit more. Let me turn this one to the side. Because it looked like it was a little offset. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How y'all doing? Do you pronounce your name Tara?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I didn't want to be like Tara. Y'all come on in. It's the Couch Chronicles where it ain't no fucking limits. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get it started.
Okay.
For the Couch Chronicles, where there ain't no fucking limits.
Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 Central Time. You don't never want to miss a couch. Trust me, it ain't no fucking limits. I said none.
I mean none. Period. Y'all, we're going to play one song and we're going to jump right into the interview.
Thought you would be here with me, no. Cause you always doubted me, you didn't even believe in me. You didn't even let me know when you stopped feeling me. You couldn't even keep it real, so it's time to leave. I wasted too much time and I can't get it back. So I ain't got no choice but be okay with that. I'm getting back to the old me. You didn't really love me. I'll be okay if you switch on me. I'll be okay if you walk away. I'll be okay if you gotta leave. I'll be okay if I'm by myself. I'll be okay. I'll be okay, yeah, I'll be okay. Yeah, I'm okay, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Be myself and I am alright, I get high. Yeah, I turn my music up and free my mind. Yeah, man, I'm okay. Yeah, I took some losses, but I'm a baby. I just got a bottle of Hennessy. I'm parked at the embassy. Fucked up drunk texting, I guess I was high. Still can't believe you changed up on me, but I'm okay with that. That's how it's gotta be, yeah. I'll be okay if you switch on me. I'll be okay if you walk away. I'll be okay if you gotta leave. I'll be okay if I'm by myself. I'll be okay. I'll be okay, yeah, I'll be okay.
Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 Central Time. Follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Big O. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram and my main YouTube Instagram and my .coms, which is THA, real JANELL, and THA Couch.com. My guest here today, this is Tara.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I was going to say, I definitely appreciate you for being here. Now, can you tell everybody where you're from and what you do?
Okay, I am originally from Wichita, Kansas. Was born and raised there, and I moved here when I was probably about 17. I worked at Integris for about 21 years, and I retired last April.
Wow, Integris. Baptist Integris?
Mhm.
The same one that tried to kill me. Same people that tried to kill me.
I worked in the cardiovascular
Right.
part, though. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually have to see. Excuse us, sir. You guys, y'all know Leo how he gets. Boy, you gotta go. You came here like, hey.
He just pushed the door open and
Yeah,
came
he
in.
knows how to open the door. All of them do. Now, this month is breast cancer awareness as well as domestic violence awareness. Can you relate?
Yes.
And how so?
I'd say my journey first kind of really got started back in 2009 when my cousin Michelle, we call her Cinca, was murdered in Wichita, Kansas. And I thought, what is it that I can do, you know? And you think about everything that you could have possibly done to help, and you know what it did to your family, how it devastated her children. Her mother still grapples with it, her siblings. And so I always thought, what can I do? And at her service, I spoke and said, you know, if you're going through something, get out of it. There's resources. This is what you need to do. Never knowing that I would be on that same journey 13 years later.
Wow. Now, how long were you in the situation that you were in?
It was probably about a year and a half.
Now, did you grow up watching anyone in your family get abused?
No.
Wow. Now, was it hard to get out of that situation?
I had filed a VPO because I started seeing things that were definite red flags. It became more prevalent when there was drug use that I didn't know that he was on drugs at the time, because everything was fine for an entire year. And then all of a sudden I started seeing things that made me uncomfortable, and I did try to help him. I would go to AA with him. We tried to get him into some kind of facility that he would stay there for 3 months. But when I saw that he wasn't trying to get better, but I was doing more to help him, then I was like, let me get out of this. Because, you know, people that are on drugs, they do things.
So that was what he, okay.
Yes,
so,
that was the main thing, was the drugs. There was never any physical, ever. And so that's what a lot of what I grappled with when they would say domestic violence, because I was like, I didn't have that.
Right.
You know, and as I would sit and listen to women tell stories about how they were strangled and beaten and the bruises, and I'm thinking, well, my story isn't that. You know, mine just went from 0 to me being shot. So I didn't really like wrap my head around that domestic violence is not just physical. There was emotional and psychological stuff that was going on within that relationship.
Wow. Now, what did that situation do to your mental?
It definitely made me question a lot, because that's what they do. They make you question, are you really the reason? Are you not doing enough? And so that really plays with you. You feel a tremendous amount of guilt. Am I really what they're saying? I would say to him, oh, you're an asshole. And he would say, you're crazy. I would rather be an asshole than to be crazy. And after a while, it was like, am I crazy? You know, and you would just kind of beat yourself up. And as women, we're nurturers. So you're trying to fix things, but you're like, am I not doing something enough to make this person change? If they really love me the way they say they do, they'll change things to be with me and make this be better. So mentally, that's where it came in. It was more of the mental stuff.
Wow. Now, even going through that mentally, you didn't really, notice the red flags because you were in love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he shot you 6 times.
8.
8 times.
Yes. It was 6 times in the abdomen and twice in the thigh. And one of those hit my femoral artery.
And I really hate to bring this up, but would you like to, get a little bit more in depth into the situation?
Yes. I had left work. This happened on March 11th of 2022. It had snowed that day, but it wasn't like a big significant snow. So I left work at 4 o'clock, went down the hallway.
You said March 22nd?
March 11th of
March 11th.
2022. Yes. And so I parked on the 4th floor of the parking garage, which the 4th, 5th, and 6th floors are employee parking. So I knew the cars that were there. So when I came out, my car was to the left of the door. And as I came down this little ramp, I came behind this white car. And it was just, I don't know what it was. It was just something about instantly I felt something. I don't know if it was fear, but I started saying to myself, remember stuff about this car. Remember it's a white car. It's a Chevy. It's an Impala. And even to the point where I was like, remember the tag. And I was like, oh, you're just being silly. And I start across to my car, but I'm still looking at this car. And then I see a man get out.
Now pause, because you're giving me chills. Before all of that happened, did you all have an argument? Did something lead up to that, to where because you would never imagine that would be happening?
No, and he knew about the VPO. We had discussed it. He was like, well, why would you do that? And I mean, he wasn't angry. He never said anything. We just made the choice. I think I had talked to him on the phone because I had changed my number. So he had called my mother's number like 13 times. And he was like, well, just come outside. Just come to the window. And I'm like, no, no, no. Even up until like the Monday before he shot me, he had called and he was saying, let's go get married. And I'm like, no, And so I didn't talk to him that day.
During that VPO time, he had never hit you previously before that? He never
had.
physically?
Nope, never.
So this literally was blindsided you?
Yeah, because I hadn't spoke to him. I hadn't seen him. I thought, honestly, he's gone on, it's whatever. Just that never crossed my mind that it would come to something that bad. And so, even I went to my supervisors and I said, well, I'm following this VPO. And they said, well, what can we do? Do we need to have you park somewhere different? Can we have them walk you out? And I'm like, oh, no, he's not going to do anything to me. Because I never, ever, ever, ever thought that about him. And so that's why it was so surprising as I'm getting to my car and I see this man get out. And he's wearing like a black hoodie and sweats. And so I still can't make it out because I don't know the car. And as he starts walking towards me, he looks mad. And that's when I could see his face. And I was like, okay, I got to get in my car because he was closer to the lobby door. And I knew I couldn't go back that way. So I had hit the remote start on my car. So I knew all I had to do was stick the key in and try to get out. And so as soon as I got in the car, I don't know if I had a chance to close the door or not. And he walked up and punched me in the face. And he was like, pulled out a gun and he said, scoot over or I'll shoot you. And so I could kind of like taste blood. So as I slid in the car and as I'm going over like the armrest part, I could look directly into the mirror and I could see blood on my face. So I honked the horn and he knocked my hand away. Well, I already had my cell phone in my hand and he knocked that out of my hand. And then as I'm going over, he just starts punching me. And I can tell that my eye's swelling because I'm trying to unlock the passenger door to get out, but I can't really see it. And he's still just pounding, I guess, trying to knock me out. So I knew when I got out, with me parked this way, I was gonna have to go back that way to the lobby, and he was on the driver's side of the car. So I finally get out and I run behind the car, and I'm like preparing myself for, is he gonna shoot me in the back? Am I gonna hear it? Am I gonna feel it? And when nothing happened, I kind of glanced back, and he's still in the car with the door closed. So I thought, once I got in the lobby, okay, he's not coming. As I turned to push the door, he's at the door. So the first thing I thought, when he comes in, grab the gun. Don't let him shoot you in the head or the chest, because you don't want your death to be instant. Try to move it away from your body. So when he came in, I grabbed the gun, and when I went this way, we both spun, and there was a wall in the stairwell door. And so I never heard the shot, ever. I just felt like an instant, like somebody had something hot and they stuck it in my stomach and pulled it right back out. And I thought, they always say the bullet is hot. And it was an intense heat for just a second. I was like, oh my God, he shot me. And then the wall was in front of me, so I saw it splatter with blood. And so as I'm looking at the wall, I feel like a poke, a really hard poke. And so I just kind of glanced down, and it's like someone had turned on a faucet. But I just kept holding the gun. I would just never let go until I heard a click, and then he ran out. And so I was like, do I go down the elevator, or do I take the stairs? Because I knew that the nurses come over on the second floor, and I was on the fourth. So I started getting weak, and I managed to finally, it took me a minute to open that door. And as I started down the stairs, the rail was on the inside.
Girl.
Look, I was at the side. And so it was so much blood, and I was getting so weak, I kind of took my arm and draped it over the rail, so it would kind of keep me up and not let me fall. And I just started, praying, like, give me strength to get to this floor. And then the weaker I got, I just started praying with a purpose, God, I haven't always done what I should, to just have mercy on my soul. I want my family to know that I went to heaven.
Okay.
And so as I came around, that's when I must have passed out. And so when I came to, I was on my back, and I thought, well, that's weird, because I should have fallen forward.
Right.
But I didn't know until later that one of the nurses said that I had helped them to turn myself over. And then I never really lost consciousness, so I could hear everything that was going on. And I'll always remember there was a doctor that was there from Tulsa. He came to visit his dad in the hospital, and they were discussing, cutting my pants off so they could see exactly where the wounds were. And he was like, they were like, cut him off. And I said, no one had scissors. And I said, just pull them off. And so he looked at me and he was like, pull them off. And I said, yes. And so he pulled them off, and they started counting. They were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm like, what are they doing? And then he kind of turns me to the side, and he's like, 7, 8. I never knew I had been shot. I don't know what I thought they were counting, but because I only felt 2. And it was like an instant. I was never in any pain, I never got numb or anything. And from there, I just remember going on to OU and being in surgery and waking up the next day. So.
Why did they take you to OU?
Because it's a Trauma 1 center. Even though I was at Baptist.
Right.
Yeah, there were Trauma 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
But even, I tell my mother, I was like, it was as if I floated above and watched everything happening from the time he punched me until I came to, and I was on my back. And I was like, it was like, for me, when I tell it, it's a movie. And so I never really show a lot of emotion, because I feel like I'm telling someone something about a movie I saw, or this is about somebody else, and it's not me. But when I hear someone else tell it, it affects me more. So I feel like because I control the narrative of that's how I tell my story, then it's a lot easier.
You are such a strong woman.
Thank you.
definitely. And I'm just so emotional. I'm so sorry. Because,
okay.
and shout out to everybody that's tuned in. You know, to go through that, you know, never expect that, you know, something like that will happen from somebody that you used to love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's scary.
It
You know,
is.
and then, you know, just, you know, you praying at that moment. It's like, you know, I know that I haven't been the best. I don't really know where I'm gonna go. And then it's like everything happened at that one moment. And I know you felt alone. And I know you felt alone. And I'm just so glad that you stayed strong and you held on. That way you can tell your story to everyone that's watching and everyone that's listening, because your story can help somebody. Can you tell them a little bit more of some of the red flags that made you, you know, kind of draw back?
Well, I didn't know at the time that he had already had an active BPO. And so it was so weird. I had talked to one of my cousins and I said, you know, I was kind of telling them about him because I kind of didn't really tell people a lot about him in the beginning. I kind of let like a month go by where, you know, I didn't want to be on Facebook like, this is him.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so my cousin was like, well, be careful because, you know, men will show who they really are after 3 months. Like, he was like, we can't hold it past 3 months. And so I was like, okay. And it was really around that 3-month mark where I started to see things. But he had done prison time when he was younger, like 19, and when I met him, he was 40, about 48. So he had been in prison until he was 34. So I just, you know, thought, well, you know, he went into prison so young, he doesn't really have that adaptability, he's still whatever, you know, just to give him a chance, you know, and I kind of attributed everything to that. And so he never lied about his past. He told me that he told me that he had slapped his children's mother, but I don't know everything else that happened with that. And so I was like, okay, well, since he was honest about that, and it was just things that, you know, like he wasn't a personality person. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to count that as, you know, just some people don't have a really good personality. I didn't know that he was going to AA. He would say a meeting instead of just admitting to what it was. And then more and more, I would just start to see things like how he, you know, would get kind of, you know, like everybody was against him and he was always on guard, and it was just, you know, when you're with someone, you're supposed to kind of feel good, and there would be those really high highs, and then sometimes he would just kind of be quiet, you know, and I was just like, okay. But the one thing is that he was really good to my mother, so I never saw anything with that. And, you know, I was an only child, and so there were, you know, like different things with that, and I'm like, okay, I can kind of get past the red flags. There was one particular time where he had left, I think it was around Memorial Weekend, and he left on like a Saturday, and then I didn't talk to him until Monday. And I didn't know at the time that when he kind of started relapsing. And so when he got ready to go into the facility, one of the counselors said that, you know, people relapse mentally before they do it physically. So I could start to see, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's the mental stuff that I'm seeing that he hasn't really relapsed. So months went by, never saw anything, never saw any drug use. And then it was like a year later that I could really see the change of the anger part coming out. And I'm like, this is not gonna work, you know? And he carried a gun all the time. So now you're dealing with a person that is on drugs, and he carries a gun, but this is the same person that always said that, you know, that he would protect me. So I was like, okay, he's not going to do anything to me. And because there was never anything physical, okay, you know, I can, you know, keep trying to help. But then when I saw that he is not changing, he OD'd on fentanyl right after Christmas. And so I thought, okay, you know, he told my mother, you know, Miss Curran, God spared my life. And she was like, well, what are you going to do with it? And so, you know, she said, God spared your life, but he didn't spare your life for you to try to take my child's life. You know, and so I thought, okay, if someone has a near-death experience, they're going to be a better person. They're going to try.
Right.
But it probably like 2 or 3 weeks, everything was okay, and then he was back to kind of doing just evil things. And I don't know if it was the drugs or what, and I was just like, I can't live like this. He became a person that, you know, I'd heard the term narcissist, but I'd never been around someone like that would, like, he would say things like, well, I don't think we want the same thing. And I would be like, well, leave.
Right.
And he would leave, and then I'd be laying there in the bed asleep, and he would knock on my window. Just different things. He told me one time, he was like, yeah, I leave in my truck, and then I go get someone else's car, and I come back and just sit outside. And then he told me, he was like, are you really done with me? And I said, yes. And he said, well, that really fucks with me. And that's when I was like, okay, this is getting, you know, and I remember telling my mother that, like, for someone to say that to you, like, he's not really taking it that well if he's saying that, you know, and I'm like, okay, but still be on guard, which I would, you know, and it was wearing me down, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't.
Now, towards that last few months, you was scared, or you just was like, you know what, this is just too much for me?
It was just too much for me. You know, I never, ever thought that he would do anything to me, ever. That just never passed my mind. I was never scared of him, you know.
Wow. If you guys are just now tuning in, I always do that. If you're just now tuning in, it's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 Central Time. Follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Bigo. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, and my main YouTube Instagram, and my .coms, which is THA Real JANELL and THACouch.com. Follow my guest on all social media. Her information will be in the description. Let me check these comments out. I haven't been able to look at them because I was so. And girl, let's see. It says you ladies look amazing this evening. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody that's tuned in. Listen, Tara, you got all my love and respect.
Thanks.
Seriously, you guys, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you didn't know, I always tell you guys to share your story, and don't be scared to share your story, because your story can save somebody and it can help somebody. So, Tara, with you telling your story today, you have no idea who you might be helping right now.
And there's been so many women that have heard my story. I've even had family members reach out, and gentlemen know that this is not just a woman thing.
Right.
That there have been males that have reached out as well, because we always think, how can a man be a victim of domestic violence?
Right.
But it does happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of times the reason women don't come forward because they don't want the criticism. I remember when I got out of the hospital and someone saying, well, she didn't look at his background, but they don't always have a background. You know, there's always those women that don't tell. So if you're dating this guy or woman and you look them up and there's no history of domestic violence, and you assume, okay, there's no domestic violence. For that, every woman or two that doesn't report, you don't see that. So you have no idea, because in Oklahoma, there's a high majority of women that will file them and then don't go through with them, so they're not there.
Right.
So, you know, you can't really fault them. And like I said, a lot of women feel that they're not going to be believed, or they're frightened. If I do this, what is the retribution? Even in my case, when I did it, there were people that said, you know, well, she did that, and this is the most dangerous time to leave. They will kill you no matter what, whether you file that VPO, whether you left. And so this is just a way of having, it's like a paper trail. Because the minute that with the survivor bill coming in, where it states that, you know, you can show just cause or there was past abuse, if you never report it and you have to defend yourself, whether you have to stab this person to keep them off or shoot them, if you don't have that paper trail, that's the difference between you getting off or going to prison for defending yourself.
That is so true. That is so true. Did you ever get at a moment or a time that you felt like this was too much, that you wanted to unalive yourself?
No. I felt like God saved me. Like, how could I do that? That, you know, that I'm here for something. And it would just be a slap in the face to even try that. I won't say that it doesn't get overwhelming. In those first couple of weeks, it was a lot. It was just looking at those pictures of myself, you know, and I remember when I got out of the hospital and I had gone up to the job, and I think I was picking up prescriptions, so I was sitting out in the car, and a few of my friends that I've known forever, and they came out to the car, and one of my friends was like, they could at least wipe the blood off your face. So I had no idea what I looked like until I got home. And it was just like looking in the mirror, and my lips split, and there's like dried up blood on my face, and I had 2 black eyes, and like the blood vessels were like just red. And I was just like, oh my God, you know, and just, I think I had 15 wounds total, because when I was shot, I started losing so much blood, and blood wasn't getting to the tissue in my left leg. So, you know, your leg will die and they'll have to amputate it. So they had to do a fasciotomy, and that's where they cut down both sides of your leg to relieve that pain, that pressure on there. And so then I had a stitch on the right side, and I was like, well, I was shot on the left side. Well, they removed a vein out of my right thigh to repair that artery in the left. And then they did exploratory surgery, and there was no damage to tissues or organ. I had 2 exit wounds, but none of them hit any of the bones and broke them on the way out. And so it was just me looking at everything and just, you know, just what is my life going to be like? And then you're always so scared of everything. If something felt wrong, and so now to take an aspirin every day so that I don't get a blood clot. It was every 6 months, now it's a year, where they go and make sure that because they took a vein, is everything still flowing right. And so every time you go to the doctor, they're finding out something new. And if something feels just like, okay, why is my foot doing that? Why is my leg doing this? You just get scared. And you hear people being shot, and years later they die from something that they made it through. So that's always been in my mind. So, you know, that's scary. And like you were talking about, the limitations of the physical part. And it was me saying, okay, I lost all this weight, and now I've gained all this weight, but it's so hard to do any kind of physical activity and exercise and stuff like that.
Yes. No, I get it. Now, was there any other physical issues that you go through with being shot? How many times?
Just, there was a lot of scar tissue. I had what they call venous insufficiency. I have to wear compression sleeves on my legs, so I can't stand long because my leg will swell. And then the right foot will swell, so I have to keep it elevated. And my doctor says, well, I don't want you to live your life thinking you gotta have your foot up 24 hours a day. He's like, well, let's try for 21, you know? And so it's just knowing that there's so many limitations. And then there's pain in my lower back, because although it didn't break a bone, it shifted things when it exited out. And so it's like me just knowing if I stand too long, that leg's gonna get numb. And it's just, you know, sometimes I'll keep a cane in my house, in my car. So there's sometimes when I'll have to use that cane. It's just something that I have to do. So.
Have you gotten your back looked at?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What are they doing for your back?
Because you know they always want to give you a lot of medicine.
Yeah.
So right now they're like, you won't be who you were before, but we're making you the most comfortable that we can.
Have you tried a nerve ablation?
No.
That kind of took away some of my pain in my lower back.
So I'm scary about everything.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
I'm like, you gonna do
I
what?
don't blame you. It says I couldn't imagine not being able to recognize myself. Oh, wow. She said, always having to worry. She understands. You know, and when you have those type of issues, it's not easy to work out. It's not easy to get the weight that you think that you want to be when you literally can only be the weight that you're allowed to be because you can't really do much.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel you on that one too.
Yeah, and it plays with your mental as well. Like,
You get to mind fucking yourself.
I'm so hyper vigilant right now. Anything like scares me, and even it took a long time for me to be able to go into Walmart and not just break out in a sweat. And I still have those moments where I'll break out in a sweat and I can feel my heart racing and my pupils getting dilated. And just sometimes, even if I saw someone in a hoodie and it was pulled up, it's just always watching every single thing that people are doing. And you're just so on edge, and it's like, can people see me? I remember the first time my friend and I went to Texas Roadhouse, and it was so much external stimuli going on. I was like, we got to get out. It's too much going on. I can't watch everything. It's too much noise. And it physically and mentally wears on you. And, you know, I have the world's best psychiatrist, and she was like, every day is better than the last. And it is. You have your good days and you have your bad days. And even on those days, like, I'm not always strong in telling my story and helping women. Sometimes it's overwhelming. But it's like me walking in, and then I just do one little thing to help a woman, and I'm like, okay, we're back at it. Let's go. Let's keep going. We're back in this.
Right. Wow. You are definitely such an inspiration. Wow. I couldn't even imagine all the emotions from that very first day of you getting shot. Can you name exactly the emotions that you were going through?
I don't think in the beginning I had really a lot of the mental, because the physical, I was just so in shock that I didn't even know like how to process all of that. It was just like, how am I going to get through this?
Right. You know, we see movies and when people tell us about situations of being put in danger, and sometimes we get shocked into not moving, and people are like, well, how did you not be able to defend yourself? It's like, shock can keep you stuck. Shock will make you not move.
Yeah.
And shock will take the strongest person, and you'll look weak that day because, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you was never expecting that.
Never. And you know, it's so weird. They would ask me, well, did you say anything? Did he say anything? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you never screamed, you never cried. I said, no, I never did anything. Honestly, I can say I got mad, you know. And I think that's a lot of what, like, from the first time he punched me, I'm like, I've never had someone punch me before. I've never had, you know, like, I could not, like, I was so mad in that instant. And then when he shot me, and I was like, oh my God. And the weird things that went through my head, like, I would tell my mother and I would laugh, and I was like, you know, for some reason I'm laying there thinking, you know, your mother tells you have on some nice, clean underwear. I'm like, oh my God, my underwear are nice.
And so it's like this.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you thinking this? And
because your pants got to come down.
And it's like, I'm like, why am I thinking that? And then it was like, you know, it was a pair of rain boots I had just gotten worn for the first time, and them cutting off my shirt and my bra, and I'm like, why am I thinking this? You know, like all this stuff that's going on in my head. But I think a lot of it is anger, and we can never really say what we would do in a moment until we're in that moment.
Yes, exactly.
You never know. But one thing I always had said, if someone comes, I'm never going to let them take me off. And that was something, we had watched this movie, and I was like, you know, if someone came to me with a gun, I would never let them take me off. He's like, even if they had a gun, even if they had a gun. I said, because if you're going to shoot me, you're going to shoot me right there.
Right.
I said, they take you off, they never find your body. So I know for sure that's what he was doing, was trying to take me off. And I wasn't going to allow him to do that. Because he could have shot me and then I would have bled out and no one was there to help me. I was like, you're going to shoot me at Integris. This is where you're going to shoot me. Because I'm going to get some help, but you're not going to take me off. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. You're going to do it right here. And so that was where I made up my mind, you know. And it's so weird. I said, it's like when you're asleep and you have a dream that someone's chasing you and you wake up right before they catch you. I was like, my dream was a reality. Like, it was like, I couldn't wake up because he was chasing me. And even when I woke up, the dream was still going. Like, he was still there, you know. And it took me a while, even up until we went to trial, because he had state and federal charges, that he was trying to kill me. Like, my mind could not get that part. I was like, okay, he shot me, but he wasn't trying to kill me. He wasn't trying to take me off. And then as I'm in trial, I'm listening to everything, and I see the text messages and the Google searches of him looking at identity stuff and researching a hotel and texting the guy and saying, you know, your car is on this level of the parking garage with the keys under it. If I don't come back, take my truck to my sister's house. And in that moment, I'm like, this is what he was trying to do. When I heard that part of, if I don't come back or just in case, I was like, okay, this was not just him taking me off. Like, he was going to do something. And I was like, and just to know that somebody was going to kill you or try to kill you, that's a lot. And so, you know, even during the trial, I would never, ever look at him. And he would try everything in his power to get me to look at him, but I would never, ever look at him.
And you're strong to even go to court. A lot of women don't. They won't take that opportunity, or some of them don't get that opportunity.
Yeah. Because even when they asked me, they're like, do you want to press charges? And I was like, yes. You know, like, really? Like, women say no, you know, in that instant. And I was like, that never crossed my mind to not.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for the roses. Oh, wow. They are giving. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Brittany. Brittany, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that. And if y'all just now tuning in, it is the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 Central Time. Follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Bigo. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, and my main YouTube Instagram, and my .coms, which is THA Real JANELL. Now, Tara, where are you on? What's your Facebook name?
It is Dorinda Sue.
Okay. And your Instagram?
It is, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
And
I'm going to put her Facebook in the description. Make sure y'all
because
read
my
that.
Facebook name is different from my real name.
Right.
Just because I know that at the time, I didn't know that people in jail and prison, like, they have a Facebook, they have all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want him to look up anything about me.
Yeah.
Because even though I had the VPO, he had mailed me a letter. And I was like, well, how did he get in there? Like, well, you know, they have, you know, tablets. And I'm like, really? And so, you know, when I turned that into the detective and they were like, you know, what is your email? And I told them, and they're like, yeah, we saw where he did, you know, do Google searches and get your email information. So, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I don't want him to know anything, you know. And also, as far as with his family in the beginning, they were like, oh, we're so sorry, what can we do to, okay, you threw my uncle under the bus, you're playing a victim, you're partly responsible for what happened, you're an attention seeker. And I'm like, really, a few months ago, you felt bad, you know. And I'm like, this is coming from a woman, this is coming from a mother with daughters. You know, like, think about my mother and how she felt in that moment, you know. And I was just like, and I think, you know, like I said, the hardest thing for me is like, you feel, are people judging you? Like, did you not know better? Did you not do this? And you can, well, for me, I felt like, okay, yes, he's been in prison, but you give him a second chance. You know, I never saw any of that. So I was like, well, why did she file on him? Because I've never seen anything physical. You know, and like I said, it never, ever was anything physical.
Right. Wow. That, man, I just, and to know that somebody was trying to kill you. And when my co-defendant was snitching on me, my dad was like, your co-defendant is snitching on you. I was like, no, he's not. That's my motherfucker. I know he ain't doing that. But then whenever I seen it for myself, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, did I really think a motherfucker was about to be loyal to me? No.
Yeah.
No. So, oof, jeez.
It is, that just, when they were like, take the truck, and I'm just like, what? You know, I just could not believe it. And I think a lot of the reason why I never looked at him is because I would know if there was remorse. Was it sincere? And so when they sentenced him, I didn't say anything because I was just like, I knew that at that moment all that strength would just go out the window, and I was never going to let him see me cry, because that's the one thing I held on to.
Right.
Like, I never cried. So that, for me, that was my strength. So if I got up and I started talking and I started crying, he would see that. And so I didn't want him to know. Even I remember sitting there and they're asking me my physical and mental ailments, and I was just like hesitating, like, I don't want him to know what he's done. You know, I don't want him, you know, are they thinking, look at the handiwork that I've done? Because when my mother and I went to the federal arraignment, and at that time I was on a walker, it was probably about a month out, and we're sitting there, and he comes out and he doesn't see us, and then as we stand up to leave out, and when I stand up, I grab my walker, and he scoots literally to the end of his chair, and he's looking. And I said to my mother, is he looking to see, you know, what damage he's caused? And from that moment, I got even more mad. And so I was like, from that walker, then I went to the preliminary for state. I was using a cane. To when I testified in January, I just walked in. Like, I was not going to let him have that moment. Because I was like, oh, he's looking to see what he's done. And so I was so mad. And so it was like me pushing myself. And a lot of times, my mother would tell me, she was like, you're trying to do too much, you know. But I was like, nope, I can't let him know what he's done.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, you are strong. Have you ever felt like, you know, hey, I need to change my whole identity? Legally changing it?
So recently I moved, because I had been at the same apartment, and people kept saying, you know, why didn't you move? But you know, physically, I couldn't move. You know, like I couldn't pack and stuff.
Right.
And so I
Are they stupid? Like, what kind of dumbass question? What kind of dumbass question is that? Are y'all kidding? Like, I hate when people ask stupid questions.
And I was like, I couldn't pack stuff. I couldn't, you know, and I know that they would have come and helped, but I was just like, I was just not mentally ready to start doing that. I was like, just let me try to give myself, like, I'm trying to work on this part first. And so I couldn't sleep at night. It was always me thinking someone's going to knock at the window. Every single day, I would look up to make sure he was still in jail. I would look at the court cases. And so I would do that every day. And so then when I was in therapy, they were like, well, try not to do it every day, but like, do it like every other day. And I'd be like, okay, I went 2 days, but I had to go back, you know, because it was always like, what if he gets out? I would even call the jail, and they're like, he's not getting out. They're like, his bond was like $800,000. And I was just like, okay. But I would never sleep. I would sleep like in reverse. Like, I would stay up till 7 in the morning, and when the sun would come out, I would go to sleep. And because I couldn't sleep at night. And people were like, but it happened during the day. But if you look out your window during the day, you can see everything that's coming. At night when I look out, I just saw black. And so I'd be like, no, I got to be able to see what's going on. So I would stay up all night, and it was draining.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved into my new place, the first night I slept the whole night through, and I've done it ever since. Like now, I'm like going to sleep. I'm waking up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's what it was. Just me removing myself.
Right.
And even I bought a whole new bedroom suit, a new mattress. I was like, let's get his heebie-jeebies off of there. Just like I wanted a whole new thing, and
I
so
don't blame you.
yeah, it was just like, I can just go to sleep, you know, and it was a lot of times, you know, because my mother was there, and sometimes I would just kind of look at her because I'm an only child, and my mother is hard of hearing. She's on a cane, and I was like, there was no one else that was going to take care of my mother but me. And I tell her all the time she was the reason that I fought. I was like, I couldn't imagine someone going and telling my mother I didn't make it. I was not going to let that happen. There is just no way. And I kept telling them, you know, call her, tell her I'm okay. This is what she's going to hear, but let her know that I'm okay. You know, that, you know, I'm okay. We're going to get there. It sounds bad, but I'm going to be okay. And I remember her telling me, you know, at the hospital, she said, I knew you would be okay because they never said you can go back and see her. So she said, because they never said that, I knew you were going to be okay. She's like, everybody else is falling out around me. She's like, but I just knew. And so I just, you know, she absolutely is. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And I tell her, it's like, I'm proud of you, you know. So we kind of uplift her, and then just having her there in those moments when I was just like, I can't do this.
Your mom has really been your mom.
Yeah, she has
this whole
been.
time.
Yeah, and then I reach out to my best friend, Glenda, all the time, and I was like, because I went back to work 4 months later, but I would only work like 4 hours a day, and sometimes I'd be in the car like, let's just pray, you know, and so it's just having an awesome support group. If I didn't have my family and my friends, I don't think I could have made it, you know, and I've never heard anyone say, you know, you did this wrong, you did that. They've just been there to just listen and understand. And then with our family having gone through that before, it was just that much harder, you know, so.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you yourself are dealing with a domestic violence situation, please don't hesitate to reach out to someone and build you. If you are like, okay, I can't just leave. I gotta plan this. Well, then build you a support system. Build you a team. Seriously, that's gonna help you execute that safely.
Yeah, because the Y always says to not just leave, to build an exit plan. You know, just don't take everything at once. A lot of times, what they'll do is they'll destroy important papers. So it's always, you know, take those a little bit at a time, move things a little bit at a time. And some things we're always, you know, that we don't think about. Don't ever let them know every single place that you go to. Have one place where they have no idea where this person lives. So that way, there's an emergency place that you can go to, and they can't call there, they can't go by there. But sometimes we do. We let them know where every single place is, where every friend is, every family member is. But sometimes we have to leave that one, you know, because we never know.
Right. So. Well, how do you know when to do that?
I remember, like, he knew where some of my family lived, and some of my friends, but I knew that there were places that I knew he wouldn't go. Because my cousin always carried a gun, so I knew, like, if I were to go there, but I never thought in that moment he would do anything. So that was not in my head. But then when I thought about it, I was like, there should have been one place that they didn't know, you know. And a lot of times we don't want to get our family and friends involved because sometimes they will go there looking for them. So.
Now, you said you're in a relationship?
Yes.
Was you scared to get into a relationship?
No, because it was someone I had been with before.
Right.
Yeah, I went through that, no new people, and I don't know how people do it. The man that I'm with now, we've been together for 26 years off and on. We had broken up after 22 years, and that's how I met the man that shot me. And so then after I was shot, we got back together.
That's good. And how you guys realize this, but a lot of people are doubling back to their old, nobody wants to do that get to know you phase again.
Yeah, that new
You know
people.
what I'm saying? No. Like, my wife and I, we met in prison. We started our relationship in prison.
Uh-huh.
We had broke up for a little bit of time.
Uh-huh.
But, hello, we married now. Like, I went and got my honey. Shit,
Yeah.
And you went and got your honey.
Yeah.
Your person.
Mhm.
That's your person.
Yeah, and things change you.
Yeah.
And I see the change in him, and I know for him it has to be hard because I'm not that same person.
Right.
And there are some times when he's like, "Let's go do this," and I'm like, "I can't." There's some days when I'm like, "Just let me sit in the house." I've gotten better, but in the beginning I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I would only go to the doctor and back to the house.
Right.
That was it. Like, I don't want to do anything, but I'm trying to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of it where I have to tell him, like, I'm not that same person.
Right.
You have to bear with me. And on this journey, because I'm always speaking or I'm doing this or I'm volunteering and I'm like, he was like, you're always busy. I said, I am. But to whom much is given, much is required. And for me, my life was given. So I'm required to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And he's been a big support, I'm sure, and he's patient.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it doesn't matter if you got a history with them or not. A lot of people don't want to help you through your trauma, help you, work with you through that or wait or be patient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thankful for my wife because all the things and all the surgeries that I keep having to go through, people have told her that there's been men and women that have literally left a partner in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah, they're like,
I'm
I
grateful.
can't handle this.
Right.
It's like, you're not going through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to have those people in our lives, we got to be grateful for them.
Mm-hmm.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I know I am too. So I'm definitely grateful for them. And I'm grateful for them being in your life too.
Yes.
Because you're here right now with me on the couch.
Yes.
I'm so glad to know you. You are a true survivor.
I know. Because when I saw you, I was like, well, I saw you doing the whole smiley thing.
Yeah.
And so I was actually going to go up there in September when they had the 13th.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that was my birthday. But I saw that line. I was like, let me get back in the car and drive off. I was like, no.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, man. Now, when did you believe that you were enough? When did you get to that point?
I just, when I saw the blessings,
Mm-hmm.
that every time I felt like, we complain about things.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I was like about to just give up, there would be this blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, but why me?
Right.
And I remember my cousin, he had MS and he passed away. He was like, why not me? And I was
Right.
like, I am enough. Like sometimes it's like, this battle was mine.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for anybody else.
Right.
And so I think in that moment is when I'm like, I'm enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that with me telling my story, there are some women it's hard for them to tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, it was like 5 months later, I'm like, just going.
Yeah.
And it is hard because you want to help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I lead this group at Palomar, and one of the ladies said, they tell people to leave their resources, but I can't get any help.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just floored me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, when we tell them that, if we can't give them everything to help,
Mm-hmm.
and so she was needing an attorney, and I was able to reach out to one of my other friends that knew of someone, and she was like, oh, I spoke to her, and I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So then that gives you to keep going,
Right.
And I think that sometimes we can't look at other people to tell us that we're enough. We have to believe it ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
to not just speak it, but just to know it too.
Right.
And just sometimes look at yourself and say, I'm remarkable, I'm enough. And not
Yes.
look for someone else to say it, because we have it in us.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know where that strength comes from, but
Exactly.
it's there when you're looking.
Right. Now, do you carry protection now? And did you carry protection then?
I never would take it to work,
Mm-hmm.
but now, yeah, Nina goes with me.
Yep. Right. Exactly. And nobody should have an issue with that.
Yeah.
At all. Now, what are some of your hobbies? Some things that kind of get you through the day?
I'm trying to think. Well, mainly I like volunteer.
Mhm.
Right now, through Palomar Family Justice Center, I met 2 incredible women,
Mhm.
and we do everything. We go to the Capitol. One of the ladies was instrumental in helping co-author a bill where children are able to file a victim protection order.
Mhm.
What if the parent is doing something to the child? Can this child file an order against the parent? She was
Right.
instrumental in that.
Mm.
So, just meeting with the Attorney General, speaking, going to conferences.
Mhm.
And that's what brings me joy, seeing the look of the people that are asking, what do we need to do? What can we do different to help?
Right.
And so that's kind of where I am right now. And then just spending time with my best friend, with my mother, and just knowing that if I was at work now, I couldn't be doing all of this. So my joy comes in helping.
Right.
So.
Wow. My joy comes in helping as well. And I feel like, contrary to what people believe, I feel like, the couch helps. It helps a lot of different people get a lot of different perspectives, because I get perspectives from all type of people. I love to interview everyone. It doesn't matter what you do. I've had a prostitute on the couch before. And, I wanted to get to know. I wanted to know all about it. After doing 9 years in prison, I missed out on so much that I'm appreciative of a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I'm definitely
And you're
appreciative.
taking that and making something good.
Yes.
And knowing. And so that's like what I felt with him is like, even though someone's been in prison, you can't judge them by their past.
Right.
And, some people get out and they never go back or do anything.
Right.
Like,
And then some people get out and they get back to doing the same thing that they used to do.
And now he has 2 life sentences in federal.
Really? I was just about to ask you, how much time did he get? I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah, because I didn't know that there was a state and federal kidnapping and state and federal carjacking.
Oh, wow.
So the federal carjacking came from, if there's interstate, and so my car was manufactured in Canada, and even though he didn't take me out of Oklahoma, that car I was in was from Canada. So that became the federal part.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the ammunition charge was federal because the ammunition was manufactured outside of Oklahoma. So the federal, they pull up stuff from everywhere, and I was just like, huh? He was like, well, where was your car manufactured? I was like, I don't know. And so they go out and they look at everything. They're like, it came from Canada. We can do the federal charge. So.
Wow, that is.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Chevy Equinox.
Oh, that is wild. But
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that, because a lot of times, women don't tell on their abusers or the people that harm them because they don't believe that they're going to get a lot of time. They believe that they're going to end up getting out and they're going to cause harm to you. And so that will stop a lot of women and men from telling on certain people.
Yeah.
Because they don't want that to happen. They don't want all of a sudden they tell and then 6 months later the person is out. Like, what the fuck?
And a lot of stuff that I also want to bring up is that in this journey you find out things. There's statistics. And so I go to this DV education and they're saying, what race or culture has the highest domestic violence? And you're always thinking it's a them, they, not us. We have the highest.
Of course. Let me tell you something. And now that you said
The
that,
highest.
and
6
I want
times
y'all to
more
listen to what
likely.
she just said. This is why I say this all the time on the couch. Do y'all notice that every disease, every sickness, and everything, it's always first in the black community, higher in the black community?
So I was just like shocked. And I was like, but we don't see it.
No.
It's not in the news. It's not reported. Like,
Exactly.
we're 6 times more likely. And then they show us this map and there's like a crescent and it shows the areas where there's active BPOs or BPOs have been filed. In the Northeast side, none. But we have the highest incident. And so for me, it's like, why are we not going where that need is?
Right.
You know, and, you know, there's so many factors as to why we don't. You know, there's the mistrust of police.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we call on this person to get help and get them out, will it turn deadly and this person gets shot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're always thought of as being so strong, and it's just not telling.
Right.
But we do have it. And so for me, I'm like, we need to go where that need is. You know, a lot of times they'll ask me, is there enough diversity in what we're doing? No, it's not. Because when I walk into somewhere to get help, I want to see someone who looks like me, who will understand the things that I'm going through and know that this is why I'm doing or not doing what I'm supposed to do at this moment.
Y'all, if you just now tuning in, this is the Couch Chronicles where it ain't no fucking limits. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, if you didn't know that, and that's what we've been talking about today. If this story resonated with you, DM me so we need to get your side of the story as well, because sometimes when people hear a story exactly like yours, it gives them the strength to tell their story. And I understand that not every woman or man is comfortable enough speaking on it, but if you are, DM me. You know, this whole month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and if you don't speak on it, then people don't know.
Yeah.
People won't know if you don't. And I know that y'all be like, oh well, that's snitching. If you don't tell on the person that's causing you harm, then you're making it harder for the next woman as well.
And I think that's a lot of it too, why it's not reporting it like, oh, we're snitching, you're telling on me. But it's saving you.
Quickly, I'm going to tell on you.
Yeah.
Put your hands on me.
Yeah. And so for the next woman, if you don't tell, then she goes through that, you know. And for me, I was like, well, he had an ex-wife. He had the girl's mother. Oh, well, why did he shoot me? You know. And, you know, my mother was like, you know, baby, you were the only one that could have made it through. You know, a lot of times it's what's meant for you is what's meant for you. And my favorite verse in the Bible, he knew you before you were formed in the womb, all the days that you were supposed to be here, what you were going to go through. So he knew that this is what I would go through, but he also gave me everything in place to help me as I went through all of this, and all the people that would be there, you know, along the way, that I had this praying family to help me through all this.
Is there anything else you would like to tell the people before we go?
So voting is over for what? The People's Choice Award?
Yes.
But be cheering.
Yes.
So that she'll win.
Please.
Again.
Yes.
So, but I've been wanting to be on the couch.
I definitely appreciate. Girl, you came and gave us the juice. For real. This is something that I needed to hear as well. Yeah. And again, it's something that a lot of my couch potatoes probably needed to hear. Yeah. And a lot of times we don't know that we need to hear something until we hear it. Like you, I had chills the whole time you were speaking.
And don't be afraid to speak out. You know, don't be afraid to think you won't be believed, and never ever think that he won't do, because you don't know.
Right.
You know, I thought that. Oh, he would never do that. You know, he's not gonna harm me, and not knowing that yes, they will.
Right. Now, my last question before we go is, if there is one thing that you could change that happened in your life, no matter if it was when you was younger till now, what would it be?
What would it be? I don't know, because I think growing up, we always have an idea of how our life will be. And for me, like, I'm 54, so I was like, I never would have imagined myself, never been married, no kids. Like, I think that would be the one thing that I would change, that if I had, you know, found that one in the beginning and had all of this, because there's nothing that I would change about my childhood. Like, for me, I had, I think, an amazing childhood, even with me being an only child. My cousins are like my brothers and sisters. We all went to school at the same elementary, so I wouldn't change that part of it. But I wish that there were a lot of things that I would have done earlier in my life until waiting for now. But I think that this was God's plan. So.
So you never had kids?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. And then we both had total hysterectomies. How do you feel with that?
I feel okay with it.
Do you take your hormone pills?
No, I don't
Me
have
neither.
to. But I do have hot flashes.
Oh.
I be having fans everywhere. Like, where they at?
Right,
Where they at?
right. Oh man, I definitely appreciate you for being on the
Thank
couch.
you.
And everybody, I definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, it's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits. Make sure that you follow Tara on all social media. Well, the social media that you will allow them to follow. Okay. But I will put it in the description. You guys, I'm sending positive vibes, love, and energy your way. And if you are suffering from domestic violence, or if you are a breast cancer survivor, or cybersecurity, we're going to talk about that before this month is over as well. Make sure that you reach out to someone. You don't have to just reach out to me. Reach out to someone.
Yes,
Don't suffer in silence.
exactly.
Please don't. I love you guys so much. It's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits, and we out of here.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, wow. You definitely blew my mind. I'm talking about blew my mind. Good night, everybody. Good night. Love y'all. Spotify Pandora, thank you so much for tuning in. It's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits.